everyone, and welcome to this episode 8, series 14, Doctor Who spoiler review here on the Geek Bites, brought to you by the
Geek
Buddies.
Hey, yeah, yeah. Let's do it. I'm ready. Let's talk about it.
I feel like you just stretched out and you're ready to run. That's what I like this. Empire of Death, episode 8 here, wrapping up this first season on Disney Plus of Doctor Who, and of course, series 14 or season 1, however you want to categorize it. We don't include the Christmas special, of course, as part of it overall. But yes, Empire of Death here, wrapping up this 2-part season finale for this season of Doctor Who with Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson here as the Doctor and Ruby Sunday. A lot of stuff got tackled here, Michael. And still some loose ends by the end of this episode to lead us into the second season. Certainly a heartbreaking, tear-filled ending there between Ruby and the Doctor. But before we got to that ending, we got to all the stuff going on here with Sutekh and the different places that we were going. And he finding out that Sutekh has been a part of the Doctor's life without the Doctor knowing it since the 1970s and has been on over 200 trips with the Doctor, planting little Susans all over the place, leading to his ability to essentially enact his plan and wipe out everybody, that every species and every planet the Doctor has ever been a part of. But what stops him from killing the Doctor and Ruby is finding out this secret about Ruby's mother, which we finally get answered in this episode. A lot of death, a lot of rebirth, a lot of emotions, and some fantastic performances. And also some questions storyline-wise. But Mike, your overall thoughts on this particular episode here, Empire of Death?
I think you summed it up pretty well. I think this Geek Bites is over.
No, I was just giving my...
You did it, dude. That was it. You did it. You did it. That's the show.
What happened? Your analysis is what we need.
It was unexpected, and I liked it. I got a little bit of Infinity War. Got a little bit of Last Jedi. I think if you're a fan of Last Jedi, you're a fan of this episode. I think Russell T Davies and Rian Johnson could have a long talk about people's importance and what makes people important and where they come from. And I liked that. It was fun. I mean, it's one of those weird, I think that, and I've been looking at a lot of the people talking about it on Twitter. I've been reading a lot of reviews, and this whole season and this whole arc of the Doctor leaning way more into Neil Gaiman-y kind of, fantasy, mythology, belief, storytelling, the importance of stories, more so than like sci-fi. Everything makes science sense. Like, and I dig that. So for me, a lot of the ending really worked. I know for some people, maybe they felt a little bit let down by it, but for me, it really landed well. I think they did the thing that you do where you're like, whoever Ruby's parents are, nothing is going to satisfy. You've built it up so much, but by going in the opposite direction, it oddly does satisfy, at least for me. So I loved it. I was a big fan of it, and I've been excited to talk about it all weekend. Yeah,
and I can't imagine next season they'll be like, oh, no, actually, she's a clone of this, and her grandpa is actually this, and, you know, I'm sure they're not going to...
And somehow Sutekh returned, and and she's a dyad, Yeah,
I liked this. Listen, this was a tough season in terms of the amount of ideas that Russell T Davies had were fantastic. I mean, this is how you bring people back into the fold of Doctor Who. Yeah, because the previous 3 seasons with Jodie, not Jodie's fault at all. I think Chibnall was a little bit hit or miss, and it didn't quite hold together as strongly as some other showrunners' time on Doctor Who. So this is how you bring people back. That's those 60th anniversary specials. You lead into a season like this. And still, I felt the season was 4 episodes too short. I think there was so much more they could have explored, right, Mike? Because it felt like they were overstuffing these episodes to try to get to this finale. That being said, this finale was really touching, really moving. If you're any kind of Doctor Who fan, new, in the middle, or been there since the beginning, there was enough here for you to enjoy and hearken back to some of the best of Doctor Who. This idea that he fights for goodness, for humanity, for hope. This idea that someone could have tricked him for this long using his own technology against him. Ncuti Gatwa screams of pain and sadness and hurt. Those 2 screams I thought were incredible, guttural screams, realizing that he had tried to bring hope and happiness and joy, and he brought death everywhere he went unknowingly. and that harkens back to what happened on Gallifrey and the death of the Time Lords, all that. So all of that came through here. Plus, you get great Easter eggs in this memory TARDIS for those of you who are old school Doctor Who fans. But you also get a really good time with the companion, with Ruby. So much great, strong connection between them, and getting Millie Gibson to have some wonderful scenes throughout this episode that underlies how great her performance was throughout the whole season. I thought was fantastic overall. But let's deal with the overall story here about the villain, Michael. How do you feel this Sutekh stuff came off? We find out that, as I said, that he's been attached to the TARDIS since he got thrown into that time vortex. Supposedly, it's going to age him 7,000 years until he died. No, he's held on. He used the cloaking device of the TARDIS to drop Susans all over the place on these different planets the Doctor went to. He essentially co-ops everybody and turns them into agents for him to enact and kill everybody. Kate Lethbridge, Stewart, Unit, the Sundays family, Mrs. Flood, everybody is dead here. And then you find out that it was a full-on revenge, and then gets stopped from killing the Doctor and Ruby because he wants to find out who the mother is, and that's what eventually tricks him into being captured by the Doctor, like by a dog collar, dragged through time, everybody brought back to life, and then the Doctor kills him, so possibly. So your thoughts, Michael, on all of this in terms of the villain? Did this come off? What did you think about it? Did it work? What didn't work for you? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it felt big.
Yeah.
And I think, like, that's what you sort of, you really want these Doctor Who finales to have, like, this, like, not just earth shattering, but like universe shattering stakes. And this really did. And I will say, at the beginning, when everyone started getting dusted and Unit went out and Kate went out, I for a minute was like, oh wow, they're really going for this. Like, these people are like, I believed that those people were going to die and it was going to be permanent. Now, 2 seconds later, when everybody started dying and Ruby's mom died and everybody else died, I was like, okay, they're coming back. It's like it's the end of Infinity War. You're like, I think we're gonna get these people back. But the fact that I believed it for a second, I think speaks to the fact that the stakes felt real. And then the Doctor kind of sitting in the TARDIS, looking out at the Earth just as the dust slowly goes over everything, and then the realization that every planet is dealing with this, everywhere he's been and everywhere between where he's been, because just the result of all of it, that to what you said, for a character that is so about life and so about not wanting anybody. I mean, you think of like the Dot and Bubble episode, like not wanting anybody to die. Finding out that his actions have led to the death of everything. I mean, that hits hard. Even though we know it's gonna get resolved somehow, the emotion that he's dealing with, the realization that he's responsible for this, I think really, really landed. And look, Sutekh being a giant cloaked dog that just holds on to that TARDIS for dear life, again, it works. Like, it's super weird, but he felt threatening. Like, it just felt like it all worked. And so
what about the dropping of the Susans and all the different places? Did you find that to be an inventive storyline or story beat here with the overall villain?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it definitely gets into the weirder parts. You're like, okay, so wait, he dropped a Susan, and as soon as the Susan got dropped, because of the perception filter, that Susan, reality sort of shaped around them and said, okay, here's how you exist, here's how you've always existed, here's this thing. And slowly placing them everywhere, I thought was a really, really cool. I mean, it worked because we've been so aware of it all season. Like, I think had this been something that was just all of a sudden dropped, like if we had gotten to part 1 and there was this character that, well, all of a sudden everyone's like, she's super smart, she's super important, and then you sort of had this big reveal, you'd be like, I don't know, that feels forced. But because we as an audience have been going through all season long going like, well, wait, she's there, what's this, it's like we were, he led us along exactly the way you want a showrunner to lead you along. Like, we were along for the ride. We were slowly putting the pieces together. We had all of these theories, and then you get to the end. And also the fact that the perception filter around, I don't know what this means, and I don't know what it has to do with anything, but the fact that the perception filter around the TARDIS is 73 yards, which is the exact same amount of distance as the episode when Ruby had old Ruby following her 73 yards away. I think that was just a really great detail. So all of it felt like all the pieces of the season stacked up to this finale, and it worked really, really well for me.
Yeah. What did you think of Ruby's role in all of this and how she worked and navigated through? Because, I mean, in essence, they had to share, Mel and Ruby had to kind of share the companion role in this particular episode. And of course, Mel had some wonderful moments in the memory TARDIS, hugging on the remnants of the two doctors that she was with when she did the Doctor Who, the series. So your thoughts on how all of this came together, them watching essentially the snippets of the episode with Tom Baker there and what happens to Sutekh. Did you like the way this all worked with Ruby and with Mel and the Doctor, and how this progressed to the point where the Doctor figured out that Mel had been taken over by Sutekh and was able to counter it, use the dog whistle, and yank Sutekh through time connected to the TARDIS?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ruby for the first half of the episode, because there's just so much going on, and there's so much exposition of Sutekh explaining what has been happening and the Susan stuff. So I think for the first half of the episode, she kind of falls into the role the companions fall into sometimes, which is like, you're there so the Doctor can exposit.
Right, yes.
You are there to say, well, I don't understand. What's happening? How could this be possible? So that the Doctor can be like, let me now explain it to you in the audience so that I can get all the information out there. But I think the back half of the episode was great because, look, when we first meet Ruby Sunday in the Christmas special, it's about her parentage. It's about, like, she's on a show and we're going to find out who your parents are.
Right.
And the arc of who Ruby Sunday is and where she came from, that's been her emotional journey, but it's been our emotional journey. So when you get to the end and her sort of, you think she's got the information, you think she's going to give up the information to Sutekh to save the Doctor. You're like, okay, noble sacrifice. Oh no, you two planned this all along. Here's the big thing. Like, her and the Doctor really working together to bring Sutekh down there at the end, I thought was great. But then the emotional payoff after that of everything that happens. I mean, that's the thing that a good show like this does, is the Sutekh part of it, like, and we'll get to like how the Doctor gets rid of him and everything, but that all happens. But it's the last 15 minutes after that that are the emotional payoff of the episode. And I think that's where Ruby Sunday really shines.
Yeah, I liked the inventiveness of Sutekh and the way it was done. Some people complained about the CGI look of Sutekh. I have no problem with the CGI look of Sutekh at all. Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Yeah.
I am not a longtime Doctor Who viewer, but I have watched enough Doctor Who to know that if you've been a Doctor Who fan for a while, you're eating real well on the effects budget with this Doctor Who. You've been through some rough times, and you have seen some people wearing like a cardboard crown and being like, I'm from this planet. And you're like, okay, cool. The budget was lean, but I like the story. So I don't think in Doctor Who you can really be like, I thought this CG thing looked bad. I'm like, have you watched some older Doctor Who? Because I can show you some effects that don't land.
Yeah, it's like complaining about J.J. Abrams' Star Trek and going back to the original series and saying, "Wait, no, I like the special effects better there." That's ridiculous. Yeah, I like the look of it. I like bringing back the old voice to voice the character as well. And then what, like this. And then what's great is you've got to create a villain. And this is what's great about Doctor Who. The villains that are the best villains of Doctor Who, they also, like, in a low-key way, appreciate and respect his power, right? Because for us, he's a fun guy doing these. And I love how he had that moment. I thought it was fun. My God, what a foolish thing for me to think as this was all going. I let my guard down. But I love that they have a semblance of respect. So the fact that Sutekh was here for all this time, biding his time, going through all these adventures, experiencing all these things in order to really understand how the TARDIS works and to be able to turn the tables on the Doctor, this was an incredible challenge for the Doctor to overcome. I half expected other doctors to show up because kind of they teased that a couple episodes ago with that Bridgerton episode. I thought maybe there was going to happen, but no, everyone's been dusted. So like Endgame. So you're like, okay, what, or Infinity War. All right, what do you do here? How do you counteract this? Okay, we're going to go back to the basics. We're going to get on a memory TARDIS that has like Sutekh has no control of his memory TARDIS. This was introduced in another a project, another thing that's only available on BBC iPlayer. And it's a way to wrap that up and bring it into canon now, the memory TARDIS. We're going back to basics. And although we're not going to get the old Doctors, we're going to get the old Doctors' technology. We're going to get what the old Doctors did. So using all of that for him to remember everything and be able to use his knowledge that he's acquired through all the different adventures he's gone on in order to turn the tables on Sutekh and bring out that dog whistle, which he's only used every once in a while in the show, I thought was just genius. And Sutekh playing the villain here, wanting death, wanting destruction, but always having that one little thing that villains have that leads to their downfall eventually. That one little window, that's all you have to give the Doctor, and he can figure out how to work within the window. I thought that all worked really well. The dropping of the Susans was inventive as hell. And then having Ruby be an integral part of stopping this situation, I thought was great, Mike. Her memories are the ones they're using on the monitor. The moment where she hands the monitor to the Doctor and he can't see it, I thought was so inventive and smart,
Yeah, and I think, again, it was a great way to sort of wrap all of the different pieces. I mean, her, like, seeing, what's-his-face, the worst prime minister in the history of everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Bringing that piece back and the realization that in his time, by forcing everybody to do DNA tests, it's like, oh, okay, cool. And so even though you got the whole, like, he's like, wait, have you ever met this guy? And she's like, no, how would I have? And like, but we know, it's just like, they really did that great thing where we're like, oh, okay, I get that. Okay, that piece is important. Okay, that piece. And then at the center of all of it, kind of to your point about Sutekh's flaw, is this idea that everybody is so focused on Ruby's clearly important.
Right. Yes.
And Sutekh is literally like, I'm not going to kill you because there's something about Ruby that's important. And the Doctor all season long has been like, there's something about Ruby that's important. Yeah. And, Maestro was like, there is something wrong about this creature. Like, this is weird. There's something about this creature in this night. And so us as an audience are like, there's something important about Ruby. There's something about So like the fact that was the flaw, and in Sutekh's, that was the flaw in his armor, like the one piece that he couldn't get right with.
Yeah.
That's why the ending and the reveal of who Ruby's parents really are, to me, worked so well, because everybody made such a big thing about it.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, it was like, no, it's just an ordinary person, which is kind of the most important thing in the world.
Yeah, and the rope stuff that I mentioned a few episodes ago and doing the reviews, that has, maintained throughout since the Christmas special came into play. The intelligence rope in this episode, in this finale, came into play in that remembered or memory TARDIS, which I thought worked really well as well.
And just in general, the idea of a memory TARDIS, I think, is the coolest thing in the world.
I mean, let's talk about that.
Like something that is like, we believed in this thing.
Yeah.
And we remembered what a TARDIS was.
Yes.
And memory is time, and time is like the whole loop of this is how the memory TARDIS comes to be, and it works, and we're holding it together with, rope and a prayer. I was like, this is great. It's just a cool, again, it's outside of science.
Yeah.
Like this season has stepped outside of science into the realm of myth and fantasy and story. Yeah. And that is a realm that I find, like starting the Christmas episode with goblins in the sky and throughout the season having these things happen. I mean, even the pantheon of gods themselves, like Toymaker, Maestro, like everything is a little bit more than, this isn't just an alien race from someplace. This is getting into weird magic. Yeah. It's not just timey-wimey, it's magic-wagic. Like, I don't know what you call it, but it's like, I really am into that.
Yeah, I love the line as well. I'm trying to find the line. I know I wrote it down somewhere, but I thought the line was fantastic about memory, and that memory being a time machine, that kind of thing. It's so simple yet so profound. That is fantastic about it as well. Well, what did you think about, as you mentioned earlier, we want to hit on, what did you think about how they defeated Sutekh? Did that work for you? Did that make sense for you? Because I have seen some of the criticism when people like, oh, well, why this seems like an odd thing for him to all of a sudden be obsessed about this because everyone else is obsessed about this when he's waited all this time to get him. Why would he be lost in a mystery? But what did you think about this? The way that they used his obsession with Ruby's mom against Sutekh and eventually trapping him, and the Doctor, in essence, saying, I'm going to lower myself to your level. You win because you're going to make me kill you, which is something I don't want to do or ever agree about doing,
I think that there's something about, to me, again, this is why it works. I get, like, when you try and actually understand the logic of, so there was this being and he was on this thing since for like however many years he's been on the TARDIS and he's doing this, and then the Doctor's going on these adventures, and then this one night the Doctor lands on Ruby Road and there's this woman and he doesn't know who it is, and so he's trying to put the mystery together, and why was this the one thing that Sutekh, but like that's what's cool about it. In the world of like fairy tales, it's always something simple that gets the bad guy. or even like think like I saw somebody on Twitter make this example, like David and Goliath. Like, does it make sense that a little stone took Goliath down? No.
Yeah.
But is that what the story is? Yeah. And that story has endured. So the fact that there was this one thing that the doctor couldn't figure out, and therefore Sutekh was like, wait, what is this? This is important. What's this about? This is important. And because Sutekh is this extra dimensional being who has been riding through time for years, the second this guy is so powerful that he is creating Susan Twists on every place they land and willing them into existence.
Yeah.
So if a godlike being who can will people into existence is hyper-focused on one thing and believes it's important, reality shifts around the universe to make that thing super important. So to me, it's sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it works itself out. And then as far as the Doctor, look, when you have all Doctor Who, and I can't say all Doctor Who, in the Doctor Who that I have watched, when you have something where entire galaxies phase out of existence, or in the case of this episode where the entire universe has been dusted, and you need to wrap it up in an hour-long finale, you got to take a big swing. And if the big swing sells you, like if the emotion of the big swing works for you, then it works. And to your point, the Doctor, who cherishes life above all else, finding out that his adventures led to death on a universal wide scale
galaxy,
and goes, hey, what if everything is dead? How do you turn that around? Oh, kill death.
Right.
Like two deaths, like two positive equals it's like, okay, everybody died, let's kill that, and then everybody comes back to life. It's simple. It doesn't fully make logical sense, but again, in the realm of story and mythology, it's like, yeah, you took death for a ride, and you reversed everything, and then you let him go, and now you're responsible. And his whole speech about if you're death, then I'm life, but you still win because you have caused me to kill, and that's not what I want to do. So I guess you won, but I still bring back the entire universe, and I'm going to have to carry the weight of the fact that I did kill you, even though I find all life precious. Like, that was a great speech. So again, it was a big swing, but it worked.
Yeah, I thought so too. And that's what's important about the Doctor. When you watch enough Doctor Who, is you realize that, the world is a crazy world out there. There's always reasons not to believe, right? And when you look at the Doctor, he has an unending belief in life and the possibility of life if given enough time, the hope of life, right? So for him to realize that he had, in essence, been an indirect bringer of death through all the adventures to all these planets that he had touched, through Sutekh's manipulation and underhanded tactics there to do what he did, and then to realize all that, and then to turn it around and on Sutekh and have him actually turn him into the bringer of life. And he has to make the hard decision. Yeah. And as I said, that's what's great about Doctor Who. He will make these hard decisions that do cost him emotionally, that do take a lot out of him, because he knows he has to make the hard, bigger decision. He's lost many companions. He's regenerated many times, but always at the end of the day, he is willing to make the hard decision that has to be made. And so to sacrifice this belief about himself that he is a bringer of life in order to bring death to Sutekh so that everyone else can be brought back to life and no more death can come from him, I thought was just a brilliant thing to give Ncuti Gatwa to play. And he played it so perfectly throughout those scenes there to the end. So, but let's talk about the reveal, Mike, unless there's anything else from the meat of the episode you want to talk about. Let's jump into the reveal here of Ruby's mom. This is a woman. We find out she's a regular woman who gave her up at 15. Apparently her boyfriend did not know that she had given up her baby, which is I'm curious at how much interaction they had with each other that he would have not noticed that she's pregnant. But anyway, she gives up her baby. She's cloaked. She points to the sign that says Ruby Road, in essence, naming her child. And then we have this meeting between her, even though the Doctor doesn't want her to do it. Ruby takes the initiative, makes the interaction happen, and confronts the woman there in the coffee shop in a very beautiful and tender way. They have a wonderful reunion. She brings them back to the Sundays. They're hanging out. And let's just deal with the reveal before we get to the ending. So what did you think about the reveal and how this was laid out? Were you underwhelmed, or were you perfectly whelmed or overwhelmed by this reveal?
Listen, I mean, it's like I said at the beginning. If you like The Last Jedi, then you like this reveal. Okay. And if you hate The Last Jedi, I bet you didn't like this reveal. It's very that. I mean, it's we've built this thing up to such a degree, and I was like, okay, like, what's the reveal? What's the who is it? What are we gonna see? It's gonna be some earth-shattering callback to like Doctor Who, probably someone I don't know, and I'm gonna have to Google it, and then it pops up, and you're like, huh, okay, well, she's that's just normal. and instantly I did what most people do, like, well, wait a minute, she's normal and she's just human. Like, wait, how the fuck did she make it snow? What's going on?
Yeah,
like, why is she so important? Like, what? Well, how does this make sense? What is this? But then when the Doctor says, like, you were, and even like, I loved her response. Yeah, I love Ruby's response where she was like, she's ordinary.
Yes.
And the Doctor's like, and that's lovely. She's like, no, it's lovely. It's great. I'm glad she's ordinary. But like, basically she goes, what the fuck? Like, what? Like, I'm glad I have an ordinary human mom and I'm not some kind of like multi-dimensional monster, but like, what the fuck? And again, this is the thing, like, if you like this as a concept, it's awesome. Yeah. But if you don't, it's frustrating. But the whole concept of, because we believed you were important, you became important. And that is how religion works. That is how history has worked. Like, we as society place importance on an idea, and if enough people agree that that idea is important, we will it into existence. We believe it. And that is how myths are made. And so the fact that you had the Doctor, who is a very powerful being in his own right, and Sutekh, who, as I said, is some multi-dimensional godlike creature that can will things into existence, and they both thought Ruby was important. Yeah, that became important. Like the snow thing, I was talking to somebody else about it, and that, like, they're like, well, then how did it snow? How did it snow in every episode? And I'm like, have you seen the power that the Toymaker or the Maestro had in those episodes? Like, they bent reality to their will, and they were both afraid of Sutekh. And Sutekh is doing that on a bigger level. And when a god-like being on that level believes you're important, you start making it snow around you, because you have these beings that are placing that level of importance on you. So I loved it, but I also loved it when Rey was a nobody in Last Jedi until it was retconned in Rise of Skywalker that she was somebody. So I think the idea when Last Jedi came out, there was a lot of articles about this, but we have grown up largely thanks to George Lucas diving into the hero's journey. We have all grown up in the era of the Chosen One. Right. We love stories about you were the chosen one. Harry Potter was chosen. He was marked by Voldemort. Like Luke Skywalker was chosen because his father was Anakin Skywalker. Like Anakin Skywalker was created by the Force because he was so important. He literally, they say, you're the chosen one. Like that myth, the pulling the sword from the stone, that sort of has endured. But Rian Johnson, Russell T Davies, there's this new kind of myth, which is the myth of anybody can be somebody. Like you don't have to have this amazing parent or be chosen or be the child of prophecy. Like anybody can be the hero of the story. Anybody can be the important one that does it. So having her mom be just a woman who had a baby really young and didn't know what to do and wanted that baby to have a good life because it's implied that her stepfather was not a good guy. That's the hero of the story, which I think is very sweet and lovely.
Yeah, there's a lot of symbolism or themes, I guess, and messages when you're looking at this episode. I mean, the idea that evil can lurk right around the corner and hides itself when you think you've taken care of it and now it's come back. Boy, that feels familiar. You thought an evil you killed decades ago is now back. That certainly feels familiar in our current topicals, in our current society, very topical in the conversations we're having all over the world. This idea that someone can come from a meager beginning or a broken beginning and can have importance because we give it importance. And that's the truth. We elevate the people we consider to be important. It's not explainable. Like something going viral. It's literally the same thing. Something going viral. The Hawk-Tuah girl is massive now because we've all decided collectively at a subconscious level that this is important and fun and hilarious. We're going to make memes, sell t-shirts, do all these things because it's funny and it grabs our attention, but we give it importance. So the idea of her birth and the unusualness of it all, the Doctor giving importance, Sutek co-opting that in essence, Ruby feeling that as well, because legitimately to her, that is the most important thing in the world. Show me all the monsters and creatures and everything like that. But what's the most important thing is, who is my mom? So that, and I love that the Doctor says, honey, this is your adventure has just begun. I've shown you all these things, but your adventure now really begins, which is, how do I integrate my mother after all these years into my life? How do we create a relationship? What are these new experiences that I'm going to experience that can rival anything I can experience on all these numerous planets with Doctor Who? So I thought that was a really powerful message as well. And and I think you hit the nail on the head saying, like, nowadays we were in our chosen one era for quite a few decades. Now we're in our another era where anyone can be, anyone can change the world. In essence, and doesn't have to be chosen to do.
And look, the chosen one idea is so ingrained in our very beings that when something like Last Jedi comes along, and we've all been like, Rey is Obi-Wan Kenobi's daughter. Rey is this, Rey is that. Right. When Rian Johnson wrote, her parents are nobody. She's nothing special. Half of the Star Wars fandom went, that's not acceptable. Because the idea of being chosen and special is so ingrained in us. And the same thing happens here. You watch this episode and we've built this up and you see it and it's just an ordinary woman. And the idea of someone being chosen or special or unique is so ingrained in us that we're like, I don't know. That doesn't feel right. I don't know. That feel, but that's to me, that's what's exciting about the idea.
Sure. And listen, it doesn't mean that the Snow thing won't be answered in the next season, right? There could still be some kind of magic or uniqueness to her that is connected to the Snow thing. Remember, she's coming back next season, but not as the main companion for every episode. It's going to be shared load. So this will be interesting. And let's move to that section. Actually, let's take a quick break, Michael. I want to get to a couple more things and then we'll roll on out of here. But let's take a quick break first. We're right back right after this. I wondered which one of us was going to do it. All right, so let's get to this tearful finale between the Doctor and Ruby, which I thought was incredibly touching, Michael. Both of these fantastic actors, we've really enjoyed their journey and their growth through the Christmas special into these 8 episodes, and of course, Ncuti being in the 60th anniversary one as well, one of them. And they're back and forth here at the end. She is so heartbroken to walk away from it. She wants to go with him, but she also knows, like, this is an adventure she has to go on as well in her life. And the Doctor is and we've seen this. If you've seen enough of Doctor Who, Michael, you've seen the Doctor leave companions and the interactions they have. And I thought this one was especially tender. And, her saying, I'm going to see you again. He goes, oh, you absolutely will. You will totally see me again. And then she walks off. What did you think of this emotional finale interaction between the two of them? It caught me out of left field. I got to be honest. And I was just like emotional watching this.
I thought it was lovely because there's a line, I think it's a J.M. Barrie line from Peter Pan, to live would be an awfully great adventure.
Yeah.
And I think when you go back to the 60th anniversary specials that are on Disney Plus and you get to the end of the Toymaker episode after Ncuti Gatwa has gone on his way.
Right.
And David Tennant Doctor is sitting there with Donna and her family. And Donna looks at him and is like, do you miss it? Are you bored? If you're bored, you can leave. And he basically says, all the adventures I've had have led to here, and it's the happiest I've ever been. Like sitting around a table, eating food with your family, and it's the happiest the Doctor has ever been. And then you get to the end of this episode, and the companion didn't die. She didn't have, she had to forget all her memories. She didn't have to go back in time to be with her loved one and be, there was no giant thing. The thing that got in the way was family.
Yeah.
Like she got her mom back, had a great relationship. Her mom is hanging out with her adopted mom and her grandma, like the Sunday family, and they're all hanging out. And she's still down to go on an adventure. Like, that's what I think made the moment so beautiful, is that she was like, okay, family's good. Where are we going next?
Right.
And then it was the text messages kept coming. Oh, hold on one second.
Yeah.
No, I really do want to go on a big adventure. Ooh, okay, so they found my dad. Oh, I think we're going to go see my dad. And the Doctor kind of has this bittersweet look because he's like, look, babe, this is your adventure. You're living life And I think the reveal of who Ruby's mom was, combined with the way that she kind of left it, like, it's like, look, yes, the entire universe is at your fingertips, and we can go through time. You can go to any era. You can meet any person. You can go to any planet. We can go on adventures endlessly forever.
Yeah.
But the adventure that you're about to go on right now, that's the most important one.
Yeah.
And that's really sweet. Like, that's just very, very touching and emotional.
It's pro-life. It's pro-life, living your life, experiencing these things. No, I don't
pro-life. We don't. Different phrase. Different phrase.
I don't mean the political way. I mean more like it's positive about life, like that. Life can be tough. Life can be difficult. Life can be crazy and unexpected, but it is an adventure. And if you embrace the adventure side of life, there's a way to approach it that maybe will help you ride over the tough times and the difficult moments, you know. And so I'll be curious to see how she plays out in the second season, because this felt like a goodbye, really felt like a goodbye. And so when she comes in, I think it'll only be for a few episodes.
Nobody really knows. Everyone's a little bit unsure about how that's going to work. I know we've got Monday coming in.
Yes.
So we got Sunday, Monday for a while, but and then we'll get Tuesday. I don't know. It's going to be great. But yeah, I think seeing how that all plays out. I mean, I'm glad, kind of to your point, in the world of Doctor Who's doctors and their companions.
Yeah.
This was a great pairing, and we didn't get as much of it as we would have liked.
Yeah.
So I'm glad, even though I thought this goodbye was a really strong goodbye, I'm glad that it's not a final goodbye. I'm glad that we're going to get some more adventures with the two of them, with her in the mix, because I think they work really, really well together.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, because I mean, again, as I've mentioned about what happened with Capaldi and a certain companion, for me, it was not enough time. And I was heartbroken by it. And I'm just as sad about this one. You know, and so we'll see if in the Christmas special how this leads into that and what happens there with Ruby Sunday. And that may be where we explain the snow in the Christmas special, which could be fascinating. All right, so let's get to this last section here. Mrs. Flood. Here we go, Mikey. Mrs. Flood did get dusted. And before she got dusted, she said, "Oh, I had such great plans," and then was gone. But then when she came back, she said, "You clever boy," which is a nice reference to a certain companion there from Peter Capaldi's reign. So what? And then she gives us the goodbye and says that, you know, the Time Lord story ends in absolute terror. And then essentially it's like this evil Mary Poppins dressed all in white at the end there. So your thoughts on this? Who is this? Is this a god of the pantheons? Is this the master? Who is Mrs. Flood, man? What are your thoughts?
I don't know. It was really interesting. I mean, the setup in part one made you think that like her role was going to be tied to Sutekh in some way, shape, or form. But I think what really happened here is like she is completely separate from Sutekh and the Pantheon. She is her own thing. She's her own entity. And we placed her in this season to sort of see things, but she is a separate entity that had her own plans.
Yeah.
But when Sutekh kind of made his move, was kind of like, well, shit. Well, shit. Missed my window. And got dusted, and then came back and was like, oh, Doctor fixed it. Now I get to be the big bad in the next season. It was a great setup. She's been such a great, like, low key. I mean, to your point, like in the very end of the Christmas special was where she like broke the fourth wall. Oh, haven't you ever seen a TARDIS before? And just throughout has been just sort of there low key. And then to sort of make this big step forward in these last two episodes, like I'm intrigued. Like they did exactly what you want to do with a season ender, which is like, oh, this was a great, oh, Sutekh was great. Oh, goodbye. Okay. Ruby's mom is just a person. Oh, that was all great. Oh, what's this new shiny object? Like, now we can all be one. And I, you know, like lots of references in both what she said. And again, I don't know this as well. This is more me reading up on it because I don't know all of Doctor Who so well, but things that she said and outfits that she's wearing reminiscent of past companions.
Yes.
So what that has to do with who she is and what she's about, going to be really, really interesting. But yeah, great new shiny object for us to get excited about as we wait for more Doctor Who episodes.
Yeah, I saw because she says, "Oh, you clever boy." I saw people saying she might be an older version of Clara, and I was like, man, that's something I hadn't even considered. So the fact that she, because of what happened with Clara, is this her way to come back and maybe punish the Doctor? I don't know. I'm really curious by that. Some people have suggested that she could be the metafictional character Iris Wildtime, or the monk, Hecuba, the Rani, or even River Song. And that I didn't even think about, which I love when Alex Kingston played the River Song character. And so that could be a fascinating part of this. But either way, clearly she's going to be the villain of season 2, it seems like. So that's
or the villain of the Christmas episode, and then that's going to be that, or it could be that's going to be the big thing, and that's going to be that episode, and then we're going to clear the deck for what comes next. But either way, just really great and compelling. Like, I love Russell T Davies does a really nice job, and throughout all of the reveals of these 2 episodes in the finale, it's all about misdirection.
Yeah.
It's all about, hey, look at this, but I'm really doing this. Like it's, and then when you do that poorly, you kind of go, you get to the end, you're like, oh, okay.
Right.
I guess that's fine. But when you do it good, you're like, okay, cool. That was not what I was expecting, but I am pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, exactly. Like Kate and Ibrahim holding hands at the end there. Does that mean they're in a relationship now? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, she gonna get it. She gonna get it with him.
Well, we almost died, so we might as well get it on. All right. Any final words on this particular episode and this season, Michael? Because we've been reviewing every episode. This has been such a great ride with you, brother, man. Your feelings overall on the season and this particular episode as we wrap up this season of Doctor Who?
I think, like everybody, I wish the season had been longer. I wish we had gotten more time with them. But I think what we got, I was just looking through the episodes earlier before we hopped on to do this review. And like every one of those episodes is one that I would enjoy revisiting.
Yeah.
And I think when you really look at it, the idea of story, like I've been saying, story, myth, belief has just been throughout. I mean, even the 60th anniversary specials, Wild Blue Yonder, when the Doctor and Donna went to that spaceship, they had a whole thing with salt, like the whole like superstition around salt, and you had those 2 beings, and like we're like, told them that they couldn't cross it, and then those beings believed it. And like throughout we've had these moments of belief. In the Boom episode, why are they at war with nobody? Because they believed they were. Right. So like this whole idea of like what you believe kind of becomes your reality. And things being outside of the understanding of science, like the science of rope and knots, like all of these things that are like just a little bit outside of science. It's really been interspersed, and I think Ncuti Gat was a great doctor to sort of embrace the weirdness of some of these stories. So I've had a blast. I think it's been a lot of fun. It's been great sort of becoming a new Doctor Who fan. And even though I've gone back and watched a lot of the David Tennant and Matt Smith stuff, kind of this being my watching this on a first run with everybody else who's a fan of it has been really enjoyable. So I have had a blast.
That's all you can ask when you come in as a new Doctor Who fan is, am I coming in a fun season? Am I coming in with a doctor that I really like and a companion I really like? And am I being immersed in this world in such a fun and interesting way? Am I being challenged, but am I being entertained as well? And so that I'm so glad to hear that you enjoyed the season as well, and you've been enjoying walking into Doctor Who, because this is something I'm relatively new to as well over the last few years, walking into the world of Doctor Who, thanks to our friend Mike Fox. But I loved this season for what it was. Yes, was it overstuffed? Yes, did it not 100% get there? Was it weird that she points to the Ruby Road sign and that's how they got named? I don't know. It seems a bit random. Yes, there are things you can pick out that might not 100% work or might not be 100% great. But overall, I think you're right, Mike. These episodes will hold up to rewatches. And right now, I could pop in the whole season, starting from the Christmas special, and enjoy my entire Sunday watching it if I was to do that with my Sunday today. Because I enjoyed the weirdness, as you said, the places that it went, the real emotion and the heart. Here, Ncuti Gatwa's performance here grew on me as the season went along, and I thoroughly loved him by the end. And so that makes me excited to see what we're going to get next from him in season 2 in the Christmas special. Millie, I'm so sad that Millie Gibson's going to be leaving after the second season, because I love their chemistry. She grew on me quickly, and I love her performance throughout and the connection and the chemistry. But overall, as you said, strip away all the fantastical stuff. It's about the heart at the center, the emotional core. And this season, I think they really got to some fantastic emotion that made you care about these characters and made you enjoy these adventures. And yes, made you scared at times, made you nervous at times, as you said, made you believe they would have killed Kate Lethbridge Stewart. Like there's the fact that they even made you think that for a second, I think speaks to the effectiveness of what Russell T Davies did here as a writer and showrunner for this particular season. And so for me, it's been an absolute blast. And I really enjoyed this finale, and it touched me and it moved me. And that's all I could ask for, is being entertained and moved by Doctor Who that's usually the sign of a good thing, a good, enjoyable season for me for Doctor Who overall. All right, there you go. That's our that's our spoiler review for the season finale of Series 14 here, or Season 1 of Doctor Who on Disney Plus through the BBC. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who joined us for every review of the season, we really appreciate you all coming aboard our TARDIS here on the Geek Buddies and having some fun with us as we spoke about it. Michael, what do we have to tell the fine folks who've been listening to us?
If you would like to follow us, you can do so on Twitter at geek_buddies, on Instagram at _geek_buddies. You can follow Mr. Roca at The Roca Says. You can follow me at MKToon. And after you do all that, you can smash the like button below. Subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page. Check out all the amazing content he has got there. Leave your comments below. What did you think of this season? What worked for you? What didn't work for you? What do you think about Mrs. Flood? What do you think is coming next? Let us know below. And after you do that, if you're listening to us on the podcast feed, you can leave us some stars and comments there so we go up in the rankings and more people can find us. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
There you go. And please look out for our reviews on House of the Dragon, on The Acolyte, on The Boys. Everything is going on in our main show. All of it. Our main show that just dropped as we're recording this yesterday. You can go and enjoy us talking about the Star Wars fandom blowing up, and our review of season 4, episode 4 of The Boys there as well. A lot to come from the Geek Buddies, and I'm sure Michael and I will be back, and maybe we'll be back with a new companion as well, Mike, for the Christmas special. Who knows? One can hope. We will see down the road here. But thank you all so much for joining us for these Doctor Who reviews, and we'll talk to you next time with a brand new episode of the
Geek
Buddies.
Hey!